Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on this Wednesday, August the 28th, 2024, live on 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, the new channel that we're on, Dingo TV, channel 217. You can watch us there. You can watch us on all of our platforms, 12 Ounce Sports on Facebook. My Facebook page is the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. And of course, Lewis Gamlin. And of course, you can follow us on Twitch. We're everywhere. We're on YouTube, on our YouTube channels on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network. Welcome to the last week of August. Can you believe that? Labor Day is coming up this weekend already. And you know what that means? That means it is just about time for college football. Week number 1 is starting tomorrow night, Thursday. Colorado and North Dakota State will kick things off. There's a handful of other games we'll get into. I think Rutgers is going to be they're going to be playing this weekend as well on Thursday. Minnesota is going to be playing North Carolina, I think, on Thursday night. And North Carolina is going to go to Minnesota. They're a 2-point favorite at Minnesota. Mac Brown's team looking to be loaded for bear. So we're going to talk all about that here tonight as well. We've got our initial Captain Lou 6-pack challenge picks. It's back for a 4th year. Stay tuned here for the show tonight, and you'll see how you can get involved in this. We've got great prizes, no purchase necessary. We do it all in fun. We pick games that are difficult to pick. We pick fun games that we like to pay attention to here on the network and here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. If you think you can beat me at the picks, at the games that I pick against the spread, throughout the year, starting next week, we'll do 3 pro games and 3 college games. But since this is Labor Day weekend and the NFL doesn't start for another week or so, that's why we'll do 6 college games this weekend. We've got some big spreads. We've got a couple of small ones, some big games. I got a feeling Clemson and Georgia might be one of them, but it's going to be a lot of fun this year. Our 4th year doing the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge, so we're really excited to bring that back here to the network. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, we're going to talk about Connor Stallions. The Netflix documentary is out. I haven't watched it yet. Full disclosure, I don't think I have to. I've seen enough excerpts on social media. You know, depending what fan base you look at, Ohio State or Michigan State, they're thinking Michigan should vacate their wins, vacate their national championship. If you read the Michigan fans, they're saying it's no big deal. A lot of the coaches don't seem to care. I've seen a lot of them say, you know what, everybody does it. And it's not a good look, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. NFL comings and goings. I know they just announced just before we came on the air today, the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is going to be Russell Wilson. So he's going to get a shot at restoring the glory in Pittsburgh. Of course, they're kind of a middling team like the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk all about that. Some of the comings and goings. Again, some of the notable cuts. Not a lot of huge cuts out there. Spencer Rattler getting cut I'm not Spencer Rattler. Oh my goodness. The quarterback from Arizona. I'll have to get it at the break. Anyways, he's cut. He used to start at Atlanta. So all of a sudden, he's gone. And an interesting pick for the Lions, Tim Patrick. Used to be a wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and he had a lot of targets in the last 3 years. Could be a very interesting pickup for the Lions once they get him off the practice squad, maybe get him in a little more game shape to join the Lions' quest to get back to the championship game, if not the Super Bowl. So a lot going on in the NFL. The Major League Baseball season is heading towards its last month. What we like to do, we always look at standings every week, but it's the third quarter poll. Labor Day is the traditional, third quarter, if you will, as they go into the stretch run in September. And look out for our Detroit Tigers winning 5 in a row, feasting on the bottom feeders to get within 5.5 games of a wild card spot. And a sign of futility, this is the first time Detroit's been over 500 this late in the year since 2016. So we'll go through the standings. We'll have the Aaron Judge watch as he's looking to break his own American League home run record that he set a couple of years ago. So a lot going on there as well. And whatever else is going on in the world of sports. An interesting thing, heard something today. I know it's maybe a regional thing here in Michigan, but the way they do the Big Ten as far as, in hockey schedules in general is in basketball is just mind-boggling, and you can't prep for anything. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And we mentioned it on the update on Monday. A professional wrestler back in the heyday of the late 80s into the 90s, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, whatever you want to call him. Psycho Sid passed away at the age of 63, one of the big names in pro wrestling about 30 or so years back in the golden age, if you will. So a lot going on here today on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Stick around. We've got a lot to talk about here in the next, about 55 minutes, give or take a minute or two. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back as you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live, and it's here on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah, and there's some big games coming up this weekend. Of course, week number 1, we had a little taste last week with the game over in Ireland with Florida State spitting the bid against Georgia Tech, so the first upset of the year. But we've got some big games, and we are a ticket broker. That means that you're not going to pay some of those higher prices you see on some of the other secondary sites. Make sure you check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. as we've got all the tickets for the pennant races for the Major League Baseball NFL Week 1 coming up here starting next week, Thursday night with Kansas City and Baltimore. I don't know if you can get tickets to Brazil to watch the Packers and the Eagles, but a full slate of games the following Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, regardless. And, of course, this weekend with some big matchups in college football. We're going to get to those here shortly. So, but make sure you check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right, again, everybody, welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on this Wednesday, August the 28th, 2024. We're live here on 12 Ounce Sports and, of course, Dingo TV, channel 217. You can catch us on our YouTube channels, 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network, as always. Wow, a lot going on in college football, as we mentioned. We talked a lot last week about the SEC. We went through a lot of their schedules, gave you our thoughts maybe on who's going to make the playoffs there. We kind of touched on a little bit with the Big Ten. We're going to go more through the Big Ten here a little bit later on in the program as we'll go through the games and just kind of give you our feelings on how they're headed, where they're headed. It's going to be such an interesting time in college football in 2024. It is like a transitional year, if you will, with the 18 teams in the Big Ten. I think 18 in the Pac or the SEC, the ACC with 14. The Big 12 added 4 more teams. It's getting to the point where we're going to have the 4 super conferences. Well, we have them right now with the Pac-12 dissolved, but we'll see how much more the landscape will change here in the coming years and maybe in the next decade. And, of course, the all-important 12-team playoff coming up this year. You can stub your toe as a Florida State team did last week, maybe right the ship a little bit, go 11-1, go 10-2 if you're in one of the Power 4 conferences, and you just might still get into the playoff depending on that schedule. And there's some teams with some brutal schedules coming up. We talked about it a lot with Georgia, especially. I know they're the best team in the land, ranked number 1, and I think justifiably so, but they've got quite the schedule. And if they go through that unscathed, obviously they deserve the number 1 seed. But, it's kind of funny before we get into the Big Ten news and Connor Stallions. I think I put Scallions on there. Okay, I did it. All right, never mind. Overthink things a little too much here on this live broadcast. With live TV, you just never know, right? I was thinking about that. Everybody says how deep and how the SEC really is. They've got a lot of good teams on top, but they're like the Big Ten. They've got some teams on the bottom that aren't that good, and so I think that's what I think. The Big Ten has maybe caught up a little bit with the SEC. We'll have to wait and see this year, though. It's really going to be a lot of fun, as I mentioned. And the Big 12 is over here in the corner saying, hey, what about us? We may have lost Oklahoma and Texas, but we still have some good teams. Well, we'll keep an eye on that, as I think Utah is going to be the winner out of that conference. Maybe Oklahoma State. Who knows? But, yeah, that's it's going to be so much fun watching college football this year. And, of course, we're going to tie in our Captain Lou 6-pack challenge to be part of that, to keep you interested. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. All right. I know you guys have all been waiting with bated breath for my take maybe on the Connor Stallions Netflix documentary that came out yesterday morning. I think it came out at midnight. I woke up for my day job at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, and I already saw people commenting on it on X. And it's funny. I don't have to watch it because, you see all the clips and everything. I have steadfastly said, show me the proof. Show me that he cheated. I don't know if he really did himself any favors in this. You've seen him on the Michigan State sidelines wearing the CMU gear. I think that's pretty well documented, and he's gotten all the tickets to all these games and whatever. And I'm still holding out hope. I'm holding out hope. It doesn't look good. I've got my feelings on it, but what really has amused me over the last, I'd say a couple of months especially, you watch social media and, boy, you can tell. You can tell who the Ohio State and the Michigan State fans are, and you can tell who the Michigan fans are. And I probably, I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at it through my my maize and blue glasses, hoping amongst hope that it's not the case, that they don't find anything. But we don't know what the NCAA has said to Michigan. It was leaked out a few weeks ago by ESPN that they indeed they've given them their findings and what they found out, but nobody knows exactly what has been found. And I listen to all these commentators, and we've got a couple of here on the network. You know who you are, that have been on my show before, that steadfastly say Harbaugh has always been a cheater, just like Tom Brady and all that. Well, I got to tell you, I don't know about all that. Tom Brady, I think Jim Harbaugh is, the media doesn't like him. A lot of them don't, because, he's a different cat. He doesn't give the interviews that, he's not readily available. I think Tony Petitti, he succumbed to some of the pressure in his first year as Big Ten commissioner, and he suspended Harbaugh quickly without a whole lot of proof yet. He suspended him on pressure from the Big Ten ADs. That wasn't a good look. I listened yesterday. I heard an interview with him on Chris Mad Dog Russo on Sirius XM. Mad Dog was bootlicking. I mean, he was telling him how smart he was, but they're buddies from 30 years ago. So Petitti had his first real decision to make, and he erred on the side of caution. And, of course, he and Michigan decided to suspend Harbaugh for 3 games at the end of last year. The first suspension was Cheeseburger Gate. Now we have this. So I don't know. I mean, do I think something's going to happen with Sharon Moore? I think so, but now Michigan's got 90 days to decide, their next move. And ironically enough, that'll be Ohio State week. And we all know how the NCAA acts. We know they take a snail's pace. There's going to be lawyers involved, this and that. I go back to this. I think something's going to happen. Now, like I said, you hear all the Ohio State media, all the Michigan State media. Well, not all of them. There are some people that don't. but I want to say a good majority of the Ohio State media, the Michigan State media, some of the national media, you've got people like Paul Feinbaum and some of these other ESPN honks that say vacate the national championship, vacate some wins, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's going to happen. I really don't believe it could. It's obvious that it could. I mean, I look at some of the, some of the other instances. You've got USC with Pete Carroll. Their national championship got vacated. So did the Heisman with Reggie Bush 20 years ago. Now it's been reinstated because the rules have changed. Now you can pay somebody $300,000 and give them a brand new house and whatever. Just think what Reggie Bush would make now if he was, in that situation. He'd probably be making $5 million at least. And his mom would be making $5 million, whatever. But back then it was a no-no. And I think the unfortunate thing for Michigan, and I think the unfortunate thing is that they got caught. Everybody does it is not an excuse. That doesn't make it right. That's like back in the steroid era. And, with Barry Bonds and Sosa and McGuire, they were all doing it. But that doesn't make it right. It was a shot in the arm, literally, that baseball needed, but it was tainted. And that's why they're not into the Hall of Fame. And as I mentioned, Jim Harbaugh doesn't do himself any favors. He steadfastly denies it. And I will go, I'll go to my grave thinking he probably didn't know a whole lot about it because that's just his personality. But that's not an excuse. The buck stops at the top. It all stops there. And if he doesn't know it, that's his own problem. That's like when you see players get in accidents or they get DUIs or, domestic abuse or everything. You've got quality control people that answer to you. And I think ultimately that's going to be his downfall. Now, he got a show cause suspension of 4 years, which means that should Jim Harbaugh come back to coaching in 4 years, which I don't think he's going to do at the NCAA level, he's got to sit out a year. That's not going to happen. He's entrenched at LA with the Chargers. And, unless he really tanks it, which I don't think that's going to happen, I think the Chargers are going to be good in a couple of years. They've got some talent there. They just got to work on it a little bit. He's not going to come back. So it's, I will watch the documentary. Like I said, I've been so busy with other things, and I'm not using it as a scapegoat. I'm not using it as an excuse. I'll watch it this weekend. I'll definitely watch it. It's going to pick my interest. Of course, I've got family that are State fans. I got friends that are State fans, and, they're looking for, my response and my thoughts on it. And I just don't know. I mean, I've got to see all of it. I've seen enough excerpts. I've had people tell me what's in it, and again, it just depends on the point of view that you have. If you're anti-Michigan, you think that you should get the line pit dug, the noose, whatever. If you're a Michigan person, you're like, well, we haven't seen anything yet. Let justice take its course. And of course, the NCAA, who they've got very little credibility with anything. I mean, that's why I think deep down, Michigan's not going to get their title vacated. They're not going to vacate any wins. Harbaugh may have to vacate some coaching wins. They're not going to take that national championship away. They're not going to do it. I mean, I've been wrong before, but I just don't see it happening. If it does, like I said, I'll be the first to say I was wrong. But I don't see it happening. And, Connor Stallions did a good job of covering his tracks. He had an answer for everything. Very detail-oriented from what I hear. That's why I can't wait to watch it. I want to see just his mindset, how he really thought about it all. You can take excerpts from it. And again, it's so easy to edit things. I see a couple of people that are just so whack job MSU out there on social media that are, kind of painting him as such this evil person. I just want to see exactly what happened. And it's not going to be a good look. Let's face it, though. It's not going to be. And is it going to be an asterisk? I don't think so. But here's my thing. Did the sign stealing really make a difference in a 49-0 win over the Spartans last year? I don't think so. You can't stop a fourth-string running back and a fourth-string quarterback in scoring in the fourth quarter, and you're blaming them for not taking a knee. To me, that's the most asinine argument I've ever heard. And by that time, Sharon Moore was quarterbacking when they beat Penn State. Michigan had to go to Penn State, didn't find out about their coach getting suspended until they got off the plane in Happy Valley. And they overcame that and beat Penn State on the road. Then they defeated Ohio State in Michigan. And then they beat Alabama in the playoff well after all this was documented. Are you going to sit here and tell me that that was the reason why Alabama lost to Michigan? Or are you going to sit there and say, well, they would have never won before that to get there? I doubt it. Have you seen their defense? You've seen what they got coming back? And you think that had anything to do with that championship game against Washington with all the heat they put on Penix? I mean, come on. After a while, it just gets old. They were the better team on the championship game. They were a better team against Alabama. The one team that I think could have gave them a run for their money was probably Georgia, but they lost to Alabama in the championship game. And that's, hey, you got to win there to get there, right? In my opinion, you do. So it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about it all year. It's going to be the banner back and forth. That's why I'm glad the football games are starting. Now maybe the Michigan State media well, let me preface this. There are some really good beat writers, Graham Couch, Chris Solari that write for the Detroit papers here. Chris has been on the show. Dynamite reporter. I think I've seen one article about this from him the whole time. Same with Graham Couch and some of the other national media pundits. But you've got some of these other ones that, it's their mission. It just makes them look so petty. And, it's so, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on it. But, hey, again, the football games are here. We can start talking about those. We've got so much to go over with the Big Ten. We're going to start with that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the Big Ten and some of the teams, what to look for out of the Big Ten. And, of course, coming up towards the end of the show, we've got our first installment of the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge. So don't go anywhere for that. We'll be right back. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and it's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, Channel 217.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And as we talked about at the beginning of the second segment here, so many big games coming up in the Big Ten and nationwide in college football. We are your place to go get those tickets. You want to try at the last minute to maybe get a ticket to go watch Georgia and Clemson this Saturday at high noon in Atlanta. Check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. Michigan and Fresno State under the lights Saturday night in Ann Arbor. Opening weekend, the weather's going to be fantastic this weekend in Michigan. It's going to be like 70 degrees. It's going to actually be a little bit brisk Saturday night. It might get down to about 50. So you might want to bring a pullover, but the weather's going to be dry Saturday night in Ann Arbor as the defending, undisputed, reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines are in town against Florida State. So again, check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou six-pack, or to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. I've got the six-pack challenge on my mind here. We're going to be doing that a little bit later on in the show. We invite you to stick around for that. We'll give you all the details, how you can be a part of it throughout the year. You can enter as many weeks as you want. I'll give you a little hint. One of the prizes we're going to give away is a $100 Visa gift card, as we do every year. But we've got more than that coming up throughout the year. We will add to the kitty, if you will. So it behooves you to play every week, as if you think you can beat me on those picks. That's all you got to do is beat me and enter. And if you do beat me, you're in the drawing. It's that simple. No purchase necessary, nothing like that. It's very, very simple. So we'll talk a little bit about that here a little bit later on. So we talk about college football, and we talked about the SEC coming up, or last week. We spent a lot of time on it and getting us juiced up for football season already. High school football here in the state of Michigan as well, starting tomorrow night with a full slate of games. I tell you, it's in the air. I know it started in Ohio last weekend and Wisconsin already. So yeah, it is one of our favorite times of the year. Everybody is undefeated. Everybody's got a shot at going to the national championship playoff. Well, Penn State's not Florida State's not undefeated right now, but they're not by any means out of the picture just yet. But with the Big Ten and their new setup right now with 18 teams in the Big Ten right now, it's just kind of doing this on the fly is it's gonna, you almost need a program to tell what's going on, the scheduling. And they brought on these 4 teams late last year, so they had to juggle around the scheduling. So there are some big matchups, and we talked about it a lot through the year. And I look back in history, back growing up, the only chance Michigan would ever play USC would be in the Rose Bowl. They did quite a bit, and I give USC credit with their home field advantage. They won that Rose Bowl just about every time. Ohio State would go down there and get their bell rung a lot. They would win their share, but more often than not, it was either USC, Washington occasionally, Warren Moon back in those days. Some great, great games in the Rose Bowl, but now without a Pac-12, or back then a Pac-8, and then Pac-10, and now Pac-12, now Pac-nothing, they're all in either the Big Ten or the Big 12. Or I take that back. Stanford and Cal, I believe, are in the ACC. It's so crazy to think that Stanford and Cal are all the way over in the ACC. But when you can fly a charter jet and get there in 10 hours or whatever it is, I guess, have money, will travel. But that's kind of, obviously the derivative factor is money. But the Big Ten, 18 teams this year. Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, all new members. It's all one conference. That's it. One conference and 18 teams. So it's going to be just a knockdown, drag-out affair. The top 2 teams will play in the Big Ten championship game in December in Indianapolis, the first weekend in December. And that's going to prove to be an amazing game. I can just see it now. And it's funny, as one of the top contenders, or one of the top teams, it looks like that's going to make a run for that, is Oregon, behind Dillon Gabriel. It's going to be interesting to see how they do as they embark on their first year into the Big Ten. They got to come to Michigan, but they host Ohio State on October 12th. And at that time, it could be the number 1 and number 2 team in the land. Georgia's going to have a lot to say about that. Right now, Oregon and Ohio State are 2 and 3, depending on which poll you look at. And I'm sure they will stay that way. But it's going to be that's going to be a dandy matchup. But Oregon and Ohio State, in my opinion, definitely the 2 top teams in the Big Ten. Ohio State's loaded. As a Michigan fan, I can say that without hesitation. They are loaded from top to bottom. They got the best team money can buy. They've got Will Howard from Kansas State, the transfer quarterback, just like Dillon Gabriel went to Oregon. So from Oklahoma, I believe. And so yeah, like I said, it is going to be a huge, huge year for college football in the Big Ten. You look at some of the teams. It's the other teams that are ranked in the top 10 right now in the Big Ten. Penn State. I keep saying how the Big Ten, how Penn State's schedule really is easy, and they've got a cream puff schedule. Their first game is going to be tough. I will give them that. They got to go to West Virginia. That's going to be a huge matchup, rivalry game. But then they've got Bowling Green, Kent State. Then they have Illinois and UCLA all at home. They get past West Virginia, which is a 12 noon kick on Fox. They're going to win the next 4. Then they go to USC and Wisconsin. That's going to be their toughest test of the year. Well, they have Ohio State at home. I shouldn't say that. They're not going to win that game. I just don't see it happening. They've got Washington at home after that. Then they go to Purdue. Then they are at Minnesota, which should be a win. Then they finish with Maryland, a Maryland team that we don't know what they're going to have this year. They lost quite a bit. They're always competitive. They'll be right there for a bowl bid probably, but this is not a schedule that just leaps out at you. They don't have Michigan. They don't have Oregon. And so, I mean, those right there, those are tough games. They got Washington at home. They've got Ohio State at home. Like I said, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, but this is a schedule. We're going to see how good they are here in the opening game against West Virginia. They could very easily go 10-2. They go 10-2 with this schedule, they're going to get in. I do believe it. They're going to be right on the cusp. I think they have to go 11-1 with this easy of a schedule. I think they can beat USC at home. USC ranked 23rd to me is just mind-boggling. I don't get it. They have absolutely no defense. I know they've got a brand new quarterback. Lincoln Riley comes in on reputation. I think that's a reputation pick because they're a blue blood. They were a blue blood. I don't know if they're still classified as that, but they're a blue blood, and I think that's why they get a 23 pick or 23 ranking. But they've got LSU on Saturday night, I believe it is, and that's going to be played at Vegas. We're going to see what they're made of. I got a sneaking suspicion that game might be one of our 6-pack challenge picks, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. But I don't see it with Penn State. So, anyways, then you've got Michigan ranked in the top 10. If Michigan goes 10-2 with their schedule, then I think they deserve to get a playoff ranking or a playoff bid out of the top 4. Because, again, we've talked about it quite a few times. We'll go through it one more time with their schedule. They open up with Fresno State. I think they're a 21-point favorite at home. That's going to be a tough cover. They'll win. With that defense, I think they'll win. I think I might take the under on that game. Then they've got Texas. Week number 2. Number 4, Texas. That's going to be a dandy. We're going to see what both teams are made of. We'll see if there's any championship hangover. We'll see if this Connor Stallions thing affects Sharon Moore. I don't think he's going to be suspended anytime soon. Texas comes in. That's going to be a high noon kickoff on Fox. It's going to be, Fox's big game. Then they've got an easy game with Arkansas State. Then USC comes to town. Then they go to Washington on October 5th. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Washington, they're starting over. Jed Fish is the new coach at Washington since Kalen DeBoer went to Alabama. So we'll see what Jed Fish brings to Washington. They're going to fall off a little bit, but they still got a little bit of talent. So, and a revenge factor game out in Washington, you got to keep an eye on that. Then I've talked about this with Michigan's schedule, and it's interesting. They get a week off, then they play Illinois at home or at Illinois. Then they come home to Michigan State. That's a big rivalry game, and it's got some added juice. Jonathan Smith in his first year at Michigan State, one of the under the radar teams that I think you really, really need to keep an eye on. And again, I took the over on their win total. I got plus 115 on it at 5, and I think that's like taking candy from a baby. But here's my thing with this. They play Michigan State. They're going to be up for that rivalry game. Such a hatred right now, and it's escalated with the 49-0 whoop ass that was can of whoop ass that was open on Michigan State last year when they were in such turmoil. So then you got to worry about Oregon coming to town the next week, and that there could be a lot on the line on that one. Let's say Michigan loses to Texas in week 2, and they run the table if they're fortunate enough. then they got one loss. You know you've got Ohio State at the end of the year, and that's going to be down in Columbus. And I think, that's going to be very interesting matchup there. I think Ohio State's going to have Michigan's number. I mean, unless something crazy happens. But that Oregon game could be for all the marbles. Michigan can't afford to lose more than 2 games. I don't think 9-3 gets them into the playoffs. So we don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. We know they've got a very, very stout defense. I think they've got 2 preseason All-Americans on the defensive side. They're going to be right there defensively, but offensively, I know they've got the Don back, Donovan Edwards, and they've got Loveland, but quarterback play is going to be key for Michigan. So that's going to be fun to watch there. Michigan, to me, is going to have to go 10-2 to get in. And with this thing looming over their head with the sign stealing investigation, who knows? Maybe they may not be eligible by then. Then it won't matter. With the NCAA, you just never know anymore. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. Some of the other teams, in the Big Ten, we just talked about Michigan State. We'll get to them in a minute. USC, we talked about Lincoln Riley. Is he overrated? I don't know. He did really well at Oklahoma. To me, the way they finished with, a supposed generational talent in Caleb Williams at quarterback, it was almost like they tanked at the end of the year. And I just don't get it. They get all the hype every year, but they can't stop anybody. Utah ruled that Pac-12. And I think they're going to rule the Big 12 this year. USC, 23rd ranked. I don't see it. I think they're going to be unranked after week 1. Hint, hint. So we'll keep an eye on them as well. We talked about Washington replacing Kalen DeBoer. That's going to be interesting to see what they do there. And also replacing Michael Penix. Michael Penix is going to be my surprise pick to maybe challenge for Rookie of the Year, because I think he's going to get in Atlanta. God bless Kirk Cousins. If he can stay healthy, they've got quite the quarterback talent tandem. But I think he's going to make a difference. So this is a big, big hole that they have to fill in Washington, losing Michael Penix. I mean, just kind of take a look at it. Nebraska, Matt Rule talks a good game. He's been really talking some smack. Nebraska, they kind of remind me now, and I hate to slight Iowa. Iowa's always there every year. At least they get to the Big Ten championship game. But they're like that team that, okay, getting 8 wins now is acceptable out there. They used to be a powerhouse. We all know that back 30 years ago, but that was 30 years ago. The recruiting has fallen off. They're not one of the big boys anymore. They don't have the budgets of Alabama and Michigan and Notre Dame and some of these other ones that can shell out the cash. USC, Georgia, Texas. So Nebraska, to me, is almost like a second-tier team. They're one of those teams that they're going to have to catch lightning in a bottle one year, and I don't think they've got it this year. They've got the hotshot freshman phenom quarterback Raiola there, but is he really going to make that much of a difference? And then I look at UCLA losing Chip Kelly, coming to the Big Ten. I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Wisconsin, they've got they got Stecklenek, the brand new coach. That's going to be interesting to see he's in his second year, I beg your pardon. But then you've got some of these other ones. Minnesota, keep an eye on PJ Fleck. I think this could finally he might be run out after this year. I think his act has grown a little old. They've never been able to take that next step. They start out quick, then they fade every year. We'll keep an eye on them. And some of Iowa, we mentioned Iowa. Kurt Ferentz got suspended for week 1. Not a big deal. I think it's all right. Nothing's going to happen there. They got Cade McNamara at quarterback, the ex-Michigan stalwart. If he can stay healthy, they're going to, they'll win some games, but they're not going to be in the Big Ten championship game. They don't have the luxury of being in that division didn't have the top 3 or 4 teams, Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. So they would be able to ride maybe a 3-loss record into the championship game, but they're not going to be able to do that this year. And, Purdue, I don't know. It's Rutgers. Rutgers could be there's 2 surprise teams for me to keep an eye on. Again, Wisconsin's going to be there. They're always there, but I don't think they're at the upper echelon. They could surprise some people, I guess. But Rutgers, Greg Schiano, can they take the next step? That's going to be the interesting question there. But I got to tell you, me, I'm a Michigan guy, not a Michigan State fan. I love Tom Izzo, and I get it. But watch out for Michigan State this year. I'm telling you, they've got that MO. They've got the chip on their shoulder. They've got a schedule that lends them, I think, to be a 7 or 8 win team, and that's going to be a monster improvement to where it's been. They start out, they've got 2 of the first 3 games are cupcakes with Florida Atlantic, and then they've got Prairie View. Then they've got Boston College and Maryland. We're going to see how good Boston College is this week when they play Florida State Monday night, I believe. And I think Florida State's going to take out the frustrations on Boston College. I don't think that's going to be close. So I could see 3-1 in the first 4 for Michigan State. You talk about a brutal mid-season stretch. Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan. They've got Iowa. That's going to be the key game for Michigan. It's at home for Michigan State. Iowa wins that game. Michigan State wins that one. Then they've got the likes of Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, and Indiana, I believe. That Purdue game's at home on a Friday night, the week before Thanksgiving. Then they're at home against Rutgers. I think that a 7-win season definitely is in the cards for Michigan State. All right, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll get into it. We'll get into the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge, and then we'll switch gears and talk a little NFL. So don't go anywhere. We'll give you your opportunity to be a part of the original Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge of 2024 right after this, right here on 12 Ounce Sports. Dingo TV, channel 217. That's right. It's the Captain Lou Extravaganza.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Again, we have to tell you about the games going on this weekend. You want to go to some of these games. There's tickets available for some of these big games. Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Florida State, Fresno State, LSU, USC out in Vegas. Talk about a fun weekend. That's going to be out there. 2 top 25 teams. Well, at least one that's legit, maybe. Michigan State and Florida Atlantic, if you're going to be in East Lansing on Friday night, their annual Friday night game at home to start out Labor Day weekend. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right, I forgot. For the Godfather, Jeff Beck, I'm sure there's tickets available for Akron and Ohio State, that monster in-state rivalry game down in that state down south. Go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. And again, we are a ticket broker, so we do not charge some of those exorbitant fees you see on some of those secondary markets. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. All right, again, welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Welcome back, I should say, as we are knee-deep in our program here tonight on August 28, 2024. And without any further ado, as you see on the bottom of the page, it's time for our first Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge of 2024. It's our 4th year doing it. How it works, it's very simple. We take 6 games. We use the point spread. We pick against the spread. Usually it's 3 games college, 3 games pro. But again, this weekend with no pro games, we don't pick exhibition games. We didn't start it last week. And, the pros obviously don't start till next week. So we've got 6 college games here this weekend that we're going to pick against the spread. Now, what you need to do, you need to beat me at these games. You got to pick them better than I do. If you do that, then you go in the drawing at the end of the year for some great prizes. We've got a $100 Visa gift card we're giving away this year. That's going to be given away the Wednesday after the national championship game. So it's going to be mid to late January when we give that away. So you can join as many times as you want. Picks every week. You can drop me a line on email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com, or follow me on Facebook, Captain Lou Extravaganza, or my personal page, Lewis Gamlin. It doesn't matter. Or follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at The Real Captain Lou. You can give me your picks there. You can message them to me if you don't want anybody to see them, or put them right on my page right there, and you'll be in the drawing. It's that simple. We have a lot of fun with this. We get multiple winners, and we try to pick games that are not so easy to pick and some that might be, but yeah, so that's how we do it. So without any further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? Let's go to our first game, and it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be high noon on Saturday down in Atlanta. It's going to be Georgia versus Clemson. Georgia, the undeniable number one team in the land, or I don't know if they're undeniably, but they're the consensus number one team in the land. They're going to be hosting, if you will, not really hosting. It's supposed to be a neutral site game. Clemson's coming to their backyard in Atlanta. And Georgia, Carson Beck's going to lead them. I think the great things this year, they've got a loaded defense. I mean, you talk about a team with that term I just despise, but it's true here, with that chip on their shoulder. They're a 13.5-point favorite. They're pissed because they didn't get into the national tournament or the Final Four, whatever you want to call it, last year. So they're going to take it out on Clemson. Dabo Swinney's a good coach. They've got a very good program, but they're going to run into a buzzsaw. That's Georgia. I'm taking Georgia minus 13.5. So that's my first pick in the Captain Lou 6-Pack Challenge. Another noon kick. We talked about this just a couple of minutes ago. An intrastate battle, excuse me, like none other. The Akron Zips and the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus. Ohio State is a 49-point favorite at home against Akron. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to win, or Akron's going to win. 49 points is so tough to cover. Even Ryan Day, I think, has a little bit of heart and might call off the Dogs when it's 56-10. They'll give up like a garbage time touchdown or whatever. It's either going to be 56-10 or like 63-17 or something. I'm going to take Akron and the points on this one. Give me 49 and I'll take just about anybody. Give me Akron plus 49 at Ohio State. That'll be pick number 2. Pick number 3, another Big Ten team in action this weekend. This is a rivalry game, a border war, call it what you will. Penn State and West Virginia. Now, if you listen to Pat McAfee, who's a West Virginia alum, they're going to win the national championship. A Big 12, Big 10 crossover game, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a fun one. 8 points is a lot at home to get. I'm not saying Penn State's going to lose this game. I just think 8 points, it's more than a touchdown. I think this is going to be a close game. I think West Virginia stays with them. I think it's going to be like a 34-27 or 33-27 game at the end. Give me West Virginia and the 8 points. I'll take West Virginia in that one. Next up, in Vegas, we talked about this one. USC ranked 23rd, LSU ranked 13, I believe. This is a neutral site game. LSU is another one of those teams that thinks they don't get the respect that they deserve. They're overshadowed by Georgia this year in the SEC, overshadowed by Texas and Oklahoma coming over, overshadowed always by Alabama. Brian Kelly knows that the pressure's kind of on him down in the Bayou. They're a decent team that really nobody's talking a whole lot about. This is another team that if they go 10-2, they're in the playoff. And that's kind of nice to be able to say that because you can lose a couple of games. I'm picking them to get in the playoff, and I'm picking them to come up to some cold weather site like Penn State or Ann Arbor to play a game, or Ohio State for that matter, in December. I would love to see that. And it's going to start out by playing a neutral site game indoors. USC to me is the most overrated team in the top 25, even more overrated than Florida State. Well, Florida State will be out once the rankings come out next week. But give me LSU laying the 4 at Allegiant against Vegas or against USC. Give me the Tigers over the Trojans. We talked about this game, a Friday night special. This is a tradition now in East Lansing, Michigan. Michigan State and Florida Atlantic. Aiden Childs comes in. The guy's got a few weapons. He's a playmaker. Opening game for the Michigan State Spartans under new head coach Jonathan Smith. And I think it's gonna be a fun game if you're a Michigan State Spartan fan. They might start out a little slow, give up a score to Florida Atlantic, but I think they're going to roll. I really, truly do. I think they're going to win this one going away. I think this is going to be like a 38-10 matchup right here. Give me Michigan State. I think they're going to put some points on the board. Childs is a playmaker. It's hard to believe he was behind DJU last year. He's a redshirt freshman. He's talking a good game. But he knows he's got to put up or shut up. And this could be, I tell you, I just think this is a great way for Michigan State to open up the Jonathan Smith era. And, I think their offense is going to move the ball on Florida Atlantic. This isn't Lane Kiffin's team anymore. Not that Lane Kiffin's a god when it comes to coaching. We all know my thoughts on him. But in this one, give me Michigan State against Florida Atlantic. I'll take Michigan State minus 14 all day long in this one. This one right here, here's the coin flip game of the weekend. I really didn't know how to go with this one. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Number 7 versus number 20. A&M, a 3-point favorite at home. So basically it's a coin flip. It's a toss-up, whatever you want to call it. Went back and forth on this one. Notre Dame's getting a lot of hype this year, a lot of hype. A lot of folks think that they're going to be a national title contender. They're going to go to the playoff, blah, blah, blah. So, but this is their first test on the road against A&M. A&M's, I don't know. Is A&M overrated? We're going to find out. But it's a home game, the 12th man. The place is going to be loud. It's going to be packed. Give me Texas A&M. Why not? It's a coin flip, literal coin flip. So give me Texas A&M. I'll lay the 3 against Notre Dame. So there you go. All right, one more time. Let's take another look at here are the 6-pack challenge picks right here. You can see them right on the screen. Give me Georgia minus 13.5 against Clemson. Akron plus 49 at Ohio State. West Virginia plus 8 at home against Penn State. LSU minus 4 in a neutral site game against USC. Michigan State minus 14 against Florida Atlantic. And Texas A&M minus 3 versus Notre Dame at home. You want to be a part of the 6-pack challenge? Here's your chance. Drop me an email with your picks of these games. And again, you have to use these lines. This will be the only week I pick a Friday game, by the way. I usually just pick Saturday games. It gives you a chance to look at them for a few days. But these are the lines you got to use. It may change by then. If I've got to use these lines, so do you. But drop me a line with your picks. SweetLou1965 at yahoo.com. Or put them on my Twitter feed. Follow me on X at The Real Captain Lou. Or as you can see on the bottom of the screen, follow me on Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. Or follow me on my personal one, Lewis Gamlin. It is that simple. The Captain Lou 6-pack challenge. You beat me in those games. You go into the drawing at the end of the year for a chance to win at least a $100 Visa gift card. We've got so many more prizes that we're looking to give out at the end of the year. They're in the vault right now. We'll announce them throughout the year, so keep that in mind. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left of the show here. Quickly going through some of the other things going on. NFL cutdown day and other news. Well, the Lions got rid of Nate Sudfeld, their backup quarterback. So Hendon Hooker is going to be the number 2 quarterback for the Detroit Lions, unless they pick up Ryan Tannehill maybe and give Hooker a little more time to get acclimated to the pro game. But he looked all right in the preseason games. They also signed Tim Patrick from the Denver Broncos. Interesting pick for the Lions as they look to shore up their wide receiver core. They've got Jamo, they got Amon-Ra, St. Brown, but Patrick, I think, could be a good third option for the Lions. The Packers traded for Malik Willis to be their backup quarterback to go behind Jordan Love. Interesting trade there. They only gave up a 7th-round pick, I think, for next year. So, not a bad pickup for the Packers. A.J. Dillon is going to be on season-ending IR for the Packers. Bad news for them. as they look to, their running back room just got a little bit lighter, if you will. The Cleveland Browns right now are keeping 4 quarterbacks, as they're obviously they've got Deshaun Watson, but they've also, let's see, looking at my notes here, who else they've got? It's like a laundry list right now. They keeping 4 quarterbacks. They've got Jameis Winston. They've got Tyler Huntley, and of course Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who played a couple of games for the Browns last year. So interesting way to go there. And speaking of quarterbacks, it was announced today that Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not really surprised by that at all. I figured he would get the nod, get the starting nod. He edged out Justin Fields, but I got a feeling by week 5 or week 6, you're going to see Fields in there. And I think he's going to play a little bit in that opening game. They're going to have some packages for him. Russell Wilson doesn't have the leg strength that he ever had, or he used to have, or if he ever had, he doesn't have what Justin Fields has. So I think you're going to see a little bit of Justin Fields in that opening game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So kind of some of the news and notes going around in the world of the National Football League as they get ready for week 1. Kansas City and Baltimore starting up a week from tomorrow, Thursday, September the 5th. A rematch of the AFC title game. And then on Sunday Night Football, another playoff rematch, the Lions and the Rams. The Packers and the Eagles are going to be playing in Brazil at Sao Paulo on Friday night, September the 6th. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, let's take a quick look at the MLB standings here as we wrap things up tonight on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Had to take a look at them because I know I'm probably really looking at it with some Pollyanna optimism, but don't look now. Our Detroit Tigers are only 5.5 games out of the wild card spot. They've won 5 straight, and they're a game over 500 for the first time this late, for the first time in 8 years. And don't look now, but the Kansas City Royals, who a lot of people thought would finish last, they're in first place, tied with the Guardians. The Guardians are in absolute free fall right now. Kansas City, 75-58, tied with Cleveland. Minnesota is 2.5 back. They've got the 3rd wild card spot. Baltimore only a game back of the Yanks, 77-56. The Yankees 78-55, as they're a half game ahead of the Phillies and the Dodgers for the best record in all of Major League Baseball. Houston Astros, their lead now cut to 3.5 with the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners 67-66, and the Astros 70-62. In the National League, it is still the Phillies. They've got a 6-game lead over the Bravos, 9 over the Mets. The Brewers with a 9-game lead over the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers at 75-56, and the Dodgers, 3-game lead over the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The Dodgers at 78-54. Well, hey, that's going to do it here. Oh, one more thing. We talked about it real quick. If you're a wrestling fan, sad news out of the world of professional wrestling on Monday. Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, whatever you want to call him, WWE legend and also WCW legend, passed away Monday at the age of 63. He was in the heyday of pro wrestling back in the late 80s and the 90s when it really exploded onto the scene. So Sid Vicious passed away at the age of 63. All right, hey, that's going to do it again. Check out my Facebook page. Check out Twitter. I'll have my Captain Lou 6-pack challenge picks there as well. Don't forget, it's the opening 6-pack challenge of 2024. We got great prizes that we're going to give away at the end of the year. If you think you can beat me on those picks, don't be shy. Be a part of it. It's a lot of fun. You can enter as many times as you want each week, or once a week, as many times throughout the year. All right, that's going to do it. Have a great Labor Day, everybody. Have fun this weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. And enjoy the last official weekend of summer of 2024. But that just means more football is just around the bend. Enjoy the college games this weekend, everybody. This reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. We'll see you next time on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV channel 217 for the Captain Lou Extravaganza.